We wanted to invite Musa to come here and talk a little bit about your perspective as a millennial in the workforce. What are you seeing in terms of the balancing in the workforce of different generations, different leadership styles, and what suggestions and recommendations do you have for the people in the room for getting ready for when millennials take over the world?
Thank you, Paul. I'm Musa. I'm 29 years old. I'm a millennial, but not because I'm 29. Generations are approximated by birth year. Right? I'd like to think about it a little bit differently. I think you're a millennial if you got your first Facebook account while you were still a student. And you're an iGen or Gen Z, the next generation, if you had bedtime stories read to you from an iPad. I think what makes a critical difference for millennials is the exposure to social networks and social media before entering the workforce. And the differentiating factor for iGen is the exposure to smart devices before the age of 7. It changes the way their brains develop and process information. And there's a lot of things we can say about these different generations, but today I'd like to focus on just one simple quality of my generation, and that's the platinum rule. Now, generations before us, right, followed the golden rule. That's treat others as you would like to be treated. Millennials and iGen prefer a little differently. They like to be treated, they believe we should treat others the way they would like to be treated. And I believe understanding the causes and the implications of this phenomenon can help us devise better solutions to millennial challenges. So let's discuss how it came to be, how it manifests itself, and what we can do about it. There's one reality we cannot forget, right? When we were born, nobody anticipated the world to be what it is today. The actions of millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers alike are reactions to their changing environments. There was no manual for this. No one could have foreseen that we would have the ability to capture and analyze millions of opinions in real time about any topic, let alone what happens to a child growing up who is exposed to so much information and diversity. Looking back and connecting the dots, turns out they grow up with much less prejudice and hatred, and much greater acceptance of our differences and individual strengths. They are motivated to help and support causes they believe in, and accept the idea to each his own. And that's where the platinum rule is born. The understanding at a young, developing age that each person is unique and deserves respect and should be treated the way they should be treated. And in comparison, Gen Xers and baby boomers grew up in smaller communities. Right? 30, 40 years ago, towns and cities had much more homogenized cultures and social customs. They grew up with local and national news in the paper and on TV twice a day. They relocated less often, believed in the system, and worked hard to preserve the way of their life. Now, an isolated incident hundreds of miles away can draw thousands of supporters within hours. What may have been a forgotten incident before can now become a symbol of an idea that echoes among all who think alike and otherwise. Our connectedness has given way to a much more open understanding of the world. And this permeates through an entire generation, and nobody wants to be on the wrong side of it. So let's look at this in a business context. We know the same recurring criticisms that are made about millennials. Admittedly, they bear some truth. But I think there's a more fair and beneficial narrative here. You see, things don't happen for a reason. There's a reason things happen. Millennials aren't inherently entitled, narcissistic, or lazy. They don't wish to be, and surely they hate to be labeled that way. But I think there's more than meets the eye. See, they're not entitled. They were just given a lot of promises. And there's some millennials in this audience I can relate to maybe. Remember this one? A college degree and good grades will get you a good job. That dream kind of died with our generation. Put your money in the bank, take out loans, it's safe. Broke through that illusion. And here's my favorite one. what you're doing in class today will help you in the real world. A lot of unfulfilled promises. And they're not narcissists. It's just that most interesting things are those that relate to them. See, in a world where everyone is a content creator, maker, and doer, and where anyone has access to any content anytime, there's a tremendous overload of options everywhere. In this sea of white noise, it's not surprising that we are drawn to things that are about us, and what we care about, and what we can relate to. The question today is less about fitting millennials into the working mechanisms of the generation before, but more about figuring out how to adapt the workplace to optimize the productivity of the current generation and the next. And maybe, just maybe, making things about them might be the way to get the most out of them. And lastly, they're not lazy. They just need a little bit more motivation than the generations before. They're seldom an individual more fierce than a millennial with a cause and a smartphone. There are many millennials who figured out how to channel their talents and interests, and they are literally recoding our reality as we speak. The rest of us are a work in progress. Intrinsic motivation is key, because we overwhelmingly do not respond well to fear and punishment. And a lazy millennial is often a symptom of the absence of a coach or a mentor. And I think the way forward is to develop leadership skills among our current workforce who can challenge and guide the young mind, help them find their path, and elevate. So, what can we do in the workplace and in greater context to treat millennials the way they would like to be treated? And here's an analogy I want to share. Baby boomers ran marathons, focused and disciplined, test of endurance, right? They're engines, they're specialists. Gen Xers are more like triathletes, more capable, more competitive, more demanding. They are diversified specialists, if you will. Now, millennials are American Ninja Warriors. It's a mash-up obstacle course. Lots of diverse skills and strengths are necessary. Lots of height and energy. And check this. It's not enough for us to compete against each other. We change the course every year and then compete together. And that's what makes us diverse and special. And if we were to take this as a model for business and carry the lessons we've learned thus far with millennials, that means businesses must focus on two things to succeed tomorrow: variability and adaptability. We don't know for sure what's coming around the corner. It only takes being two interfaces removed to become out of touch with something. Now, first there was a pen and paper, then typing in computers, then smartphones, and now virtual reality. It takes a lot to transition from one to next, and gets even harder as we age. I mean, look at this poor baby boomer who's just two interfaces removed. It can be intimidating. So, once iGen invents the next interface, or how soon after that will the totally cool new interface make my generation feel like grandmother? Disruption is the hottest word of the decade. Whoever isn't keeping up is getting left behind. It is more important than ever for business leaders to focus on meeting the demands of their customers and employees alike, to be transparent about it, and to continue to adapt and innovate. So next time you're confronted with a millennial, and with the greatest of intentions, you feel naturally inclined to treat them as you would wish to be treated, stop and think about the platinum rule and ask them, how would you go? Thank you.